Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I'm going to introduce you about the Great Wall. First, do you know that the Great Wall used a pattern that few people knew? It's because the pattern looked like this. So, it was harder to collapse than regular ones, which built upper and upper. So remember, if you want to build a tower like that, you have to learn how to build in that pattern. But first, do you know that Korea once had the Great Wall, but it collapsed 1,000 years ago around a dynasty. A dynasty is a time where a family ruled for some time. The shortest dynasty, really the Qing dynasty, it lasted just 15 years. But there was another dynasty, but it was slightly longer. It lasted for 17 years, from 1629 to 1646, when the Qing dynasty captured the last fortress in South China. Then, do you know that Russia was a problem to China too? First, China had to agree to a list of demands. But then, the good thing is that it got all of its territory together until the 1850s, when the Chinese only ruled the part south of a river. Because around that time, the Russians captured Port Arthur in China, or Manchuria. So the Chinese still owned a little bit of Russia. So the Chinese ordered that all Russians leave south of the river. And all the Chinese will retreat from north of the river. So that's why the solution was solved. Then they turned to the west. Around 1900, they captured a few forts too. So later it became like the more boundary. But Mongolia hadn't been independent since the 1600s. But the Chinese realized that they have to stop that from happening, from a mutiny. I can shoot the Chinese that they're weaker. So in 1946, the January of 1946, after World War II ended, the Chinese declared that Mongolia is free from Chinese rule. Do you know when is the first Great Wall built? But we have to push you back to the Germanic tribes first for a little bit, but not until later. First, in the 1690s, the first Great Wall began to build in the Siam province. Then, around BCE 555, a new Great Wall was building too, but let's move back to Rome. At that time, Rome was not big enough, but when the last Greek settlement was captured by the Romans in 264, the Punic Wars began, and around that time, the Germanic tribes built the first Great Wall, the second longest in other countries. The first is the Hadrian Wall. The fourth is the wall in Iran, or Persia. The last wall, the shortest, was the Andonic Wars wall in Britain. If Trajan had built a wall to keep out invaders, maybe he would. But remember, at the time the Byzantine Empire was the biggest, The Byzantines still didn't trade with China. It wasn't until the 600s. And of course, the Byzantines never built a wall to keep out the Arabs. If they had built a wall, it might be even longer. However, the big problem was although Justinian's nephew never succeeded. Maybe he would have built a wall, though he was worried about other countries such as Persia. And that conflict weakened the Byzantine Empire and the Persian Empire against the Arabs. It will provide space for the Arab Empire. So let's turn the time to 624. At that time, the last descendant of Justinian was kicked down in 602. So the Byzantines lost control of Balkans. And by 624, the Visigoths finally driven the Byzantines out of the Visigothic kingdom. After that, the Byzantine Empire was even smaller. They lost a little control of northern Africa, but they hadn't lost all control. By 683, the Byzantine Empire only had parts of northern Africa, Southern Italy, Sardinia, and parts of central Italy, and the Eastern Balkans, and Turkey, and Greece. So they only have that much land, of course. Since the Lombard invasion in 568. And the Visigoths driven the Byzantines around most of Spain in 574, and the invasion of Sueves in 585 greatly destroyed the Sueves and weakened the Byzantines. So maybe the Visigoths might have fought if our ancestors hadn't conquered the Visigoths. Maybe they would form a shield, and it will take a little while before they attack Spain. But it was too late. It was 87 years from that time, and it was too late to change all that. And the Byzantines lost their final settlement in northern Africa, Carthage, in 698. Let's turn back to a wall. Do you know a fact that you don't know? If monsters were in bricks, it will weaken the walls, but it will strengthen walls against the rains too. So it was a good thing, though it don't look good in that. The next fact is, do you know, many of the Great Walls were rebuilt. And do you know the tourists never destroy any walls, of course, but they damage some walls. So I think we should keep rebuilding the walls that disappeared from the world. Because archaeologists can find out which wall they are by counting if there are some evidence like mud on top of what remained of a wall. The last thing you should know to protect the wall. Do you know that some people write things on the walls, just like Stonehenge? Some even wrote, "Save the Great Wall," but if they're drawing, they shouldn't be protecting Great Wall, shouldn't they? And I think this is the last of my description about Great Wall for a few months. But first, let's have a little fact first. Because the Romans built a wall, why didn't Justinian build a wall? Can you search it? Why the Byzantines never built a wall anyway? I think this is the end of my video about the Great Wall of China.